Hey crafty friends, this is Einat Kessler with Saturday Extravaganza. Thank you very much for joining me. And today we are gonna make this. This is what do you think this is? This is a toilet paper that I made into a faux leather look. So we're gonna create a mini album, a steampunk mini album that has toilet paper rolls pages that look like leather. So we're going to create faux leather, and we're going to start by flattening the toilet paper rolls. I like to also make sure that they're really flat by running them through my Cuttlebug machine that squeezes them really tight and makes them very, very flat, which is what we're going to need if we're going to create pages from them. We don't want them to curl or to be round. So I'm gonna flatten all of them there in my Cuttlebug machine. Sometimes I add, this is not a standard width of any kind of cardstock or die cut, or something. So you have to find the right sandwich with all your Cuttlebug plates, and sometimes you have to add, like I do, just a piece of paper folded so it will really squish it very well. Now, the secret is to creating faux leather is to use water with glycerin. Yes, the glycerin, that same glycerin that you go and you buy in your drugstore. You just find it like that, and you mix it with water, just about for this amount of water up to here. That's like what, a seventh or an eighth, or very little amount of glycerin. Put it in with your just plain water and in your spritzer, and we're gonna start spraying the toilet paper rolls, and you'll see the magic happen. Now, toilet paper rolls are very poor quality. The paper is not very good, so we don't want them to soak in water, so you just spritz a little tiny bit on top like this. You see, just one spritz, and you don't rub them, because if you rub the toilet paper rolls, they will start disintegrate. That's how poorly quality they are, because they're just recycled paper that's supposed to hold your toilet paper. They're not supposed to be used for anything else. So you do this a few times, and the magic is that glycerin, I don't know if you know, but glycerin is a material that you can find in lotions and creams and stuff like that. And what happens is that the water breaks the fibers within the paper, and the glycerin sort of moisturizes them. It makes them flexible without tearing them. So what you can do is you squish very gently your toilet paper, creating the creases, and because the glycerin goes into the fibers and makes them more flexible, what happens is that you get this look of leather. I cannot explain exactly the chemical reaction that happens, but what I do know from a little research that I made, after you squish them, you spray them again, and you just press. Every time you spritz, you press the water with the glycerin into the toilet paper, so they will go into those fibers. That's what we need. And you have to, when you crumble them, see how it looks like? Really looks like leather, and it feels like leather too. So that's really magical. So when you crumble them like that, be very careful, because they can tear. They tear very easily. You have to do this very gently with the toilet paper rolls. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about how it works a bit later, but because we have to go on with our tutorial. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna put your roll into embossing folder. I have here letters and numbers. This is by Spellbinders, and because I want to create a pattern to my rolls, I'm gonna put 2 in there, and I'm gonna leave 1 plain with no pattern at all. So we're just gonna put this through our Cuttlebug machine, and this is how it looks. See, the one on the left has no pattern and these two have patterns. So now we're gonna give it some color. We're gonna dye it or ink it so it will really have the colors of leather and it will really look like leather. Now this is the cool part. See, the letters here on one side are raised because of the embossing folder. So what we're gonna do is very gently with our distress ink, we're gonna go over the toilet paper roll. Now the other side, the letters are not raised. See? So on one side you'll see the letters get all the ink, and on the other side you will see the surface in between the letters get all the ink. So you have two different effects with one embossing folder. So that's really cool. And on the same toilet paper, each side is different. Now on the plain one that has no pattern, you just go over with your blending tool and the ink, and you see you have ridges and places that are higher than others. So you'll see the ink stronger at some point and lighter at other points. So now I'm adding my orange. You'll think they're really strange colors, brown, orange, and green, but you'll see later how they all blend together. That's really, really cool. It looks like leather. I've experimented a bit, and this is what I think is the winning combination. And you just keep on blending them together, and again very gently, because this is now still wet because of the water and the glycerin. We didn't dry it. Don't dry it, not yet. So you see how it looks like leather, like the different shades of leather. It's really cool. And for my finished of course my finished look, we have to ink all the edges like we always do, and I do it with black stays on because I simply don't have a black distress ink. So if you have black, you can do it with black. So now after you finish with all the inking, you dry everything thoroughly, very, very dry, and you apply gel medium, glossy or matte. I use glossy on the toilet paper rolls on both sides. Now the reason you need everything to be completely dry is because you don't want the ink to blend with the gel medium, otherwise you will have paint. So you don't want that to happen. So we have our finished pages, and now we are going to do the cover, or basically the we're gonna cover the cover. So this is just a piece of very, very, very thin cardstock that I have. It's lighter than cardstock, but thicker than just plain paper. So it's somewhere in between. I actually took this from the back of a pack of school papers. And we're going to do the same thing we did the toilet paper. We're going to spritz it with our water and glycerin, tap it a little bit into the fibers, and then crumble it. And then do it over and over again, at least 3 or 4 times. Now, I promised you some more about the chemical reaction, which I don't know exactly how it works, but what happens is that the glycerin turns the paper into a much flexible and untearable or breakable material. And it makes the fibers a little bit longer. It breaks them apart, but makes them longer. So they become more flexible, and you get this look of leather, which I really, really like. And we're going to give it the same color as we did for the pages, with the 3 colors of the distress ink. The if you want the exact names, this Vintage Photo and Spiced Marmalade, that's the orange one, and the green one is the green one, I'm just looking for the green one, is Forest Moss. So these are the three colors that I used, and I think they work really, really well together and gives it a real leather look. So you just keep on blending those inks until you're happy. And if you need another spritz like I did, then add one. It will help you blend all the inks together. And this is how it looks. Don't you think it looks exactly like leather? I do. And to give it that shine, what I did, instead of start to just oops, that's my hair, sorry. Instead of just going in with the brush and gel medium, I just sprayed it with some lac spray, just lacquer spray, 2 coats. You can go ahead with the gel medium, but it takes too long, so I just spritzed it like that with a spray. Now for our cover, we're going to start building the cover. The cover is 2 squares that are 3 by 4 inches, chipboard of course, and the middle piece is 3 by 1.5 inches. Now when you glue the cover, like you see here, you have to glue the different pieces with a space in between them. Now the secret is that the space has to be the width of the chipboard that you're using. If you would have used a lighter chipboard, you would use that as your spacer. So just take one of the pieces that you're using and use that to create the space. This is the same chipboard, it's just a scrap piece that I have. Okay, so I've trimmed the edges, and now we're gonna do the corners. Now you see when I cut the corner, I leave a little bit of paper on the side there because I'm going to show you how to wrap this cover in a very professional way that your corner is going to be so professional looking that you're going to love this. Anyways, for this step I recommend to use dry glue. I use score tape, but you can use whatever type you want, double-sided tape, and you just put it on the paper there on both sides. We start with the long side first, and you have to cover all the space of the paper because we need glue all over. It needs to be really strong. We don't want it to fall apart all of a sudden. You remove your backing and then you just fold it and glue it down and burnish it with your I forgot it. What's it called? With your bone folder. And you do the same thing on the other side. Now, for the corners, just burnish everything really nice and smooth. Don't want any air bubbles. You want everything to be nice and smooth. Now, this side, what we're going to do, first we're going to put the double-sided tape on both sides there that we have, and then I'm going to show you how to do the corners. This is really cool and simple, and it will give you a really nice professional looking corner. Just put the glue on. I like to put it all the way a little bit sticky on the side just to cut it, and then it will be all over the surface. Now we put it in, we press that piece in like here, like I'm doing. That's the piece that we left, the space that was there when we cut the corner off, and then we fold it in. Okay, so you press it down inside and then look at the corner. Beautiful. Do it again, squeeze it in there and fold. So basically the outside of our cover is ready. Now I wanna you find the space, guide your paper where to go, and fold 90 degrees only, not more. 90 degrees only, like that. Now the paper is very fragile. It will probably tear, but don't worry because we're gonna add, I'm talking about the cover, the outside of the cover. The only thing that is holding it right now is that paper, that faux leather paper that we did, and it's very fragile. So it will probably tear, but don't worry, because we're going to add more paper to hold it and it will be fine. Now for our binding mechanism. This is not my invention. Kathy Orta and others did it online. You can probably have million versions of it. This is how I do it. I have 2 3/4 by 9 1/4 inch strip of paper, and I'm gonna start creating my folding line. I'm gonna do it at 1.5 inch from the left. Then I'm gonna go 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna do this 5 times because we have 5 pages. So again, I'm gonna start at 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna go 1/2 inch. After the 1.5 inch, I'm gonna go to the right 1/2 inch and score, another 1/2 inch and score, and then 1/4 inch. That 1/4 inch is gonna be our gusset. Is gonna be our space in between the pages. After that 1/4 inch, I'm going to go again 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and again 1/4. Okay, so you're going to do this 5 times, like I said, because you have to have 5 flaps that will hold your papers, your toilet paper rolls. So this is how it looks, and now we're gonna start folding. So we're gonna start folding from where we started scoring. That means from the left side. So we're gonna fold 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. That means 1 valley fold and 1 mountain fold. So what we're gonna end up with are those flaps that we created. We're basically doing a sort of an accordion. We're folding an accordion, 1 in, 1 out. So what we're going to end up with are 5 flaps with 1/4 inch spaces or gussets in between them. This is our accordion. You can see there are 4 gussets and 5 flaps. Now we have to glue them together. You bring your score tape and you put it, of course you flip your paper and you put your score tape on the first 1/2 inch fold, and then you skip the other one, the other 1/2 inch. You skip the 1/4 inch as well, and you glue down your score tape on the next 1/2 inch fold. And this is how you do your entire score tape. Basically, it's kind of easy. I hope it's clear. You can also see me doing this. And now just make sure you burnish it all nicely. You remove the backing, and now you glue your do it one by one. You glue your 1/2 inch fold one to the other like a sandwich, and then you're left with your 1/4 inch space or gusset, and you go on ahead and continue to the next flap. So you make a sandwich with your 1/2 inch, 2 1/2 inch folds, and again you're left with your 1/4 inch space. So you go on, do that with all of your 5 flaps, and once that's done, this is what you're supposed to have. You see, 5 flaps standing like that, and I like to just burnish them, move them from one side to the other, just tell them where they need to go, and this is how it looks. And this is going to go in here on the spine, and our pages are going to go inside those flaps. So now you bring your quarter of an inch score tape, flip over your binding mechanism and start putting on the score tape so we can glue it down to our cover. Now on each quarter of an inch space you put quarter of an inch score tape, and you have 4 of those, remember, because you have 5 flaps. And on the bigger parts of the paper just put your whatever other score tape that you have. You can use even a thicker one if you have. I have it somewhere but I have no idea where it is, so I'm just using these half an inch, or I think they're half an inch, and make sure you cover basically all the area of the paper. So you remove all the backing from the tape, and then we'll glue it down on our cover in the middle point of right to left and the middle point of bottom and up. So your flaps need to be smack in the middle. Burnish it really well in between the flaps, on the gussets as well, on those spaces, and then find your spaces again on the cover and fold 90 degrees like so. So this is our cover. See the paper? I told you it would tear, and it did tear. So now I'm going to tell you the biggest secret of the binding world. This is something that my grandfather told me, but you know what, let's put our papers in first, our pages of the mini album, and then I'll let you know the secret. So make sure that your pages fit your flaps. Of course mine don't fit, they're a little bit bigger. So what we're gonna do, if this happens to you, you just trim off the edges diagonally, trim off the corners, and then it fits perfectly. So I've just cut off the corners on all the flaps. Now you're gonna want to glue score tape on one side of the flap. Cut it, because again there is a diagonal end to them. Don't worry if it's a little bit, see it's a little bit taller than the flap, it's fine. And you're going to go ahead and put your score tape on the other side as well, and do that for all the flaps. Remove the backing only from the first flap. Decide which one you want to go first, which one is going to be your first paper, and then insert it in and glue it down, and this is your first page. We're going to do them one by one. Don't remove the backing from all of them together, because they're glued to one another. They will stick to one another, and it will be a mess. This is the second page. You just insert it. You know, a toilet paper roll is basically a pocket. So you just insert it to your flap and glue. Now, the secret for repairing. Now basically it would have been the best thing to do it before what I'm going to tell you now, after I ink my edges of the strip of paper, which is, by the way, 3 inches by, I think it's 6 or 7. Now this is a bandage. It's like a cheesecloth. It's a bandage that I got at the pharmacy. Now bandages are the most strong thing when you mix it with liquid glue, like tacky glue or whatever kind of glue. It looks nothing, I know, but a bandage is woven and it's extremely strong. I know it doesn't look like this, but believe me, it's extremely strong. This is the way they used to bind books very long time ago, with a cloth like this. So you take a piece of that's the bandage, and you put a lot of glue on the place where you need to fix or bind, and then you put your bandage on the top of this glue, and this will be as strong as cement, I guarantee. It has to be completely dry though before you continue. Okay, make sure it's dry. It will be very strong but very flexible, because the bandage, it's going to be like a ligament in your body that holds the bones and the muscles. So it's very strong, but it's very flexible. Okay, so you take your piece of paper and you glue it down while the cover is completely open. Don't do it when it's folded. You have to do it like this when it's completely open, and only after it's dry you fold it in 90 degrees. Let it sit there for a while. In the meantime, we can cover the inside of the cover. Those pieces of paper are 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 of an inch. And I just want to say that all the measurements are there for you, but you have to remember that each toilet paper has different measures. Each state, each country has different measurements. Each company has different measurements for the toilet paper rolls. So you might need to adjust your measurements and to change them. So this is how I did it with my toilet paper rolls, but bear in mind that it might be a little bit different if the measurements of the rolls change. So now we covered the inside, and we can fold 90 degrees again, and our cover is completely beautiful and repaired and amazingly strong, I guarantee. Look at how beautiful and leathery it looks. I love it. So now we're gonna start embellishing the cover. Now I have to say that this tutorial was way too long, so I'm gonna do it in two tutorials. So this is gonna be part 1. And since it's a steampunk mini album, we're gonna use clock parts and gears and all kinds of fun stuff. So I have clock face here, then I'm gonna add some gears onto it, and the cover on the left side there with a very old yellowy kind of glass. And this is going to be the main thing that I'm going to use on the cover of the mini album. Now I'm using liquid glue. It's easier. I know I should get like a glue pen, but I don't like it. It's never too strong. It's never strong enough for me, so I'm using tacky glue. Don't worry about all the white glue that you see all around, because it later dries clear and you won't see a thing. So I'm just putting the glue on there and I don't care. Now this is a clasp from Tim Holtz that I've added a chain to it because it was too short. I just want to make the closure for the mini album. So I just added a piece of chain to the clasp with a small ring, so it will be longer. And I'm gonna insert a little brad. Amazing how I can do that with my nails. I'm gonna insert, see, a brad to the last link on the chain, and then I'm gonna insert the brad into a cogwheel and close the legs. See? This is how it looks. So I've flipped my mini album. This is the back cover. This is the back side. And I'm going to glue down my cogwheel that has the brad with the chain on it. And add a few more cogwheels to embellish it. So this is how it's going to be. It's going to look on the back side. And soon we're going to flip it over and I'm going to show you how we do the closure on the front side of the mini album. And it's going to hold very nicely because once the glue is dry, it's going to be really strong. So this is the other side of the clasp there, and it's going to go from all the way. Now, why the reason I need it to be longer is because There's a lot of room for embellishments here, and it's going to be kind of thick, the book. So I wanted it to be long enough. The chain, I mean. This is the cover that I added a few more embellishments on it. Now I have a magnet here, a kind of big one, and I'm just gluing it down to another cogwheel, and it's going to go like this. And this is going to be our closure. Of course, the magnet and the metal chain, you know, work very well together. So this is a piece of wooden chipboard that I'm gonna add, and I'm just gonna bring just a very messy piece of paper that I can mess a little bit more, and I'm gonna add some color with alcohol inks, and I'm using all kinds, but mainly gold, copper, and rust with a little bit of green, so it will really look rusted. Just looking for the color of the green and I can't find it. Anyway, so I'm just adding it together, all the colors there. And this one's gonna go on the cover. I'm gonna add a little bit of perfect pearl. Remember, we did that technique before. I'm just gonna wet my finger a little bit with a little tiny bit of water. That would create a pasty perfect pearl. And I'm gonna go over the chipboard and just give it a little bit of sheen. And again, I'm using copper and green for the rusty effect. So this is gonna go on the cover with a little bit of glue. Again, I'm reminding you not to worry about all the glue that you're gonna see. It's gonna dry perfectly clear, but still be really strong. And I'm gonna start adding embellishments on the cover, mainly clock parts and cogwheels and stuff like that you know I love. And I have a treasure of clock parts that I got from, I don't even remember, I actually got it at one of the CHA shows. They were selling it there, and I just got a bag full of them. It was so much fun, and I still have them and I still use them, and I love them. So I'm just adding more and more embellishments, more parts, layering them down one on top of the other, different sizes, different colors, different shapes, really giving it a steampunk look. Adding more on the glassy cover there of the watch. And I'm also gonna add stuff on my chain later on. Just gonna add a little bit more on this side as well. So basically this is our mini album. I've added a little 2 keys and a safety pin on my chain. This is how it looks up close. And see, I've added these on the chain there, just with a ring. And look at our fabulous faux leather shiny embossed toilet paper rolls pages, which are all pockets, and we're gonna do all the pockets and the embellishments next week on the tutorial part 2, which is going to be so much fun. So I hope you'll join me next week as well for that tutorial, see how it all turns out inside. And thank you very much for joining me on this tutorial. I had so much fun doing this, really I did. I hope you had too. And I will see you all next time. Have a great weekend and have a great week, you guys. Bye.